Now let's take a look at both semi-finals. Of course, the biggest one will be between Partizan and Crvena Zvezda, with Crvena Zvezda with the home court advantage, which will play the first two games in front of their own hands, and of course then that they will switch hands. And now let's take a look into Zvezda's camp first. After last season, they received the chance of playing in the EuroLeague after 15 long years after Cibona had waived that right. The red and white performed well among the European elite, while in the ABA League they were setting new standards as they tasted defeat only after 21 rounds when Krka took their measure, rather surprisingly. Crvena Zvezda has set two records this season. The first one is the 20 consecutive wins. The second one is the overall score of 24 wins and only 2 defeats, the second one coming in the eternal derby against Partizan. 2 losses are actually matched by Union Olimpia from the opening season of the competition, but back then it was only comprised of 12 teams. The team had also progressed among the best 16 teams in Europe, where all hope of reaching the Final Four was lost only 3 rounds before the end of the regular season. And that, of course, ranks their European season as successful, while in the meantime they were able to secure the first silverware of the season as they won the domestic cup. The most important games of the season are of course still to follow, as they will be aiming for both the final appearance in chase of the EuroLeague ticket and the ABA League title itself, which they have of course never won thus far. Partizan has stabilized as a team after a poor start, and now it is a formidable adversary. We were the best team during the regular season and also have a home court advantage, and we need to take those chances if we want to feature in the final. Partizan is, of course, the most prolific team in the history of the ABA League, and they, of course, have the 6 titles to prove it. But last year they were deprived of playing in the EuroLeague due to that dramatic semi-final loss to Cedevita. That was the prelude to a slower start of the season, as they were unable to reinforce their ranks in time, and it was an unfamiliar sight of them winning only twice in the first 6 rounds. Then the new players started arriving, as Luka Bogdanovic, Milan Marčvan and Sasha Pavlovic all returned to the club, as did their captain Dragan Milosavljevic after a lengthy spell of the sidelines. 2 rounds before the end of the season they have also acquired Josh Okonjon, as the American fills the void at the point guard position, which was a problem for Partizan during the whole season. Arguably, Partizan were the best team towards the end of the regular season, but the defeat against Budućnost in the last round had cost them dearly, as it plunged them into 4th spot, which meant Crvena Zvezda was the adversary in the quest of returning to the EuroLeague, which of course was the tougher of the all 3 other choices. Well, the derby games are always tough and are often decided by the odd mistake or two. We will have to be extremely focused on both ends of the court if we want to book our place in the final. We have to remain calm no matter what happens. This year both teams took a win apiece, so let's remember how things unfolded in both encounters during the regular season. Partizan had already lost 4 games prior to this encounter, but was steadily playing better and was also the one opening this game better, taking a 5-0 lead. But Crvena Zvezda replied instantly, as Boban Marjanovic made sure they were in front by 6-5, and by the time Jaka Blažić scored his first points of the match, Zvezda had rounded up a 10-0 partial. The black and white then equaled the score to 12 when Vanja Marinkovic scored for free. Then the next 2 3-pointers were scored by Branko Lazic, as Zvezda opened up a 6-point lead. The red and white were also in front come the end of the first period, which finished with 19-14. Then an unfortunate situation for the visitors, as Edo Muric damaged his shoulder, couldn't play again in this game, and after that Crvena Zvezda reached a double-digit lead for the first time in the game, as Charles Jenkins was successful. Crvena Zvezda was already 13 points to the good when Mike Cirbes rounded up a 13-1 partial for the hosts. The lead was 14 points when Branko Lazic scored again. It seemed the half would end with 35-22 when Milenko Tepic was successful just 6 seconds before the end of the half, but Marcus Williams then scored in the last second to give Zvezda their highest advantage thus far of 16 points. Just like in the first half, Partizan started the second one better as Marinkovic closed the gap to 12. Zvezda's reply was a run of 5 successive points, and the lead was again 15 as their captain Luka Mitrovic was successful. The hosts were soon 17 points in front when Jenkins scored 6 points in a row. He was also the one who set the result after 30 minutes of play when it was 57-36. At the start of the last period, Crvena Zvezda opened up a 22-point lead after Nemanja Dangubic scored for 3. But after that, Partizan would find some rhythm, mainly through Milan Mačvan, who started a run of 11 consecutive points for the black and white, and after Tepic's points, Partizan was behind by 11. Branko Lazic then stopped that run from the visitors with his third three-pointer. And after that, Partizan managed to close the gap to 8 when Mihailo Andrić scored from distance. After Milutino's and Tepic's points, Partizan cut the deficit to 7 points, but it was a little too late as Branko Lazic was again instrumental in keeping the hosts in front a little over a minute before time. And that is this action. The game ended with 76-67 to Crvena Zvezda as they confirmed their unbeaten status against their fiercest rivals. Sasha Pavlovic was the first player to score in this derby, while at the other end it was Jaka Blažić with a 3. Pavlovic was responsible for the first 8 Partizan points, after which the home team was in front by 8-5, but the teams were soon on equal terms when Stefan Jovic scored Zvezda's third three-pointer to make it 15 points apiece. Crvena Zvezda was in front by 2 points after the first 10 minutes when Jenkins made it 17-15. Then Dragan Milosavljevic scored Partizan's first three-pointer to make it 22-19. But Crvena Zvezda's response was to score 3 times from distance, with Marcus Williams precise twice, and the visitors escaped to a 6-point lead. Zvezda was in front by 7 points when Nikola Kalinic was next in line to score from distance. But that prompted Partizan to respond in time, mainly through Milan Mačvan, who scored 10 in a row to give the lead back to the black and white. The home team was in front by 3 points after the first 20 minutes. Mačvan continued with a good display in the third quarter, and by scoring 5 in a row made sure Partizan took a double-digit lead for the first time in the match. And when Milenko Tepic contributed 5 points, it meant Partizan had escaped to a 16-point lead. Stefan Jovic made sure the leading team of the league wouldn't fall too much behind by making it 53-41. But still, Partizan was 17 points to the good come the end of the third period, in which Božo Džumić was the last player to score in it, with Partizan winning the third quarter by 21-8. The visitors mounted an attempt at the start of the last period by scoring twice from distance and cutting the deficit to 12, and that got followed by a few exchanges at the free throw line. It wasn't really attractive though in this time, but then Nikola Milutino was responsible for the best action of the game when he dunked nicely to put Partizan back to a 16-point lead. And this is the last point of the game. Boris Dalot scoring for the first and only time of the game. Zvezda lost for the second time this season, while Partizan continues their excellent run, which now counts for 10 wins on the trot.